Hi, my name is Cassie Brighter. I am the founder of EmpoweredTransWoman.com, as well as the Facebook page Empowered Trans Woman with 25,000 followers, and the Instagram account Empowered Trans Woman with 30,000 followers. I have been a loud advocate for the trans community for the last 5 years. In 2017, I ran the Empowered Trans Woman Summit with luminaries of trans advocacy like Bambi Salcedo and Bryn Tannehill and Monica Helms herself, as well as 60 other important names in the trans community. Throughout all of those years and all of those efforts, I've always stayed away from GoFundMes. I'm making an exception now, but there's a really powerful reason. Each one of us deals with massive costs in terms of transition and in terms of housing costs and challenges that we face as trans women in the community. But because of the fact that each one of us needs to go through such a hard journey, I've shied away from burdening the trans community with our individual GoFundMe accounts. I never liked to post up an individual GoFundMe, and I never put a GoFundMe for my own transition expenses. I don't judge anybody that does. I just didn't feel that I could crowd my advocacy efforts with individual GoFundMe efforts. This time it's different. You find me here on GoFundMe today because what I'm going to start very soon is a very ambitious project. Trans healthcare has been a challenge for many of us. Depending on the country that we're located in, it's been a tremendous challenge. In some places like the United States, like the United Kingdom, like Australia and New Zealand, France and Sweden and Norway, it has been a little bit easier, but over the years, over the last 3 or 4 years especially, it has become really threatened, it has become really challenged. Most of all in places like the United Kingdom and several of the states of the United States, there has been very strong, massive transphobic organizations with their initiatives to curtail our rights, to push us back into the alleys, into the back corners, and to push us away from society. In several states in the United States, there are bills currently before Congress in order to curb and push back our trans rights, especially in terms of access to healthcare, especially when it comes to trans youth, especially when it comes to puberty blockers, in terms of early transition, in terms of transition before 18 years old. It has been pushed back, the narrative has become really vicious and toxic, and we are, quite frankly, under threat. This is also especially true of the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, there has been all kinds of negative media coverage in terms of trans rights, in terms of trans visibility. It is really unfortunate that important people in our culture, like J.K. Rowling, have been persuaded to carry the torch for this transphobia. People like Dave Chappelle, who has devoted over half of his latest special towards attacking trans women. There's been a history to trans rights, not only in the United States and the United Kingdom, but across the globe. Generally speaking, starting from the 50s and 60s, we have been an undesirable element in society. We have been pushed back. There was a time when if somebody was outed as a trans woman, her career, her life would be practically over. Over the course of the last 7 decades, we have gained a lot of ground, culminating in 2014, 2015, 2016, which I think was the peak of our visibility across the world. We made massive inroads in terms of media visibility and so forth. We were on the cover of National Geographic with Avery Jackson on the cover, and we've been portrayed favorably in the media with folks like Laverne Cox, Janet Mock, and currently Dr. Rachel Levine, who's heading the efforts to curb COVID and to protect the American population. There are transgender people in Congress in the United States and in New Zealand. We had, like I said, been gaining a lot of progress, but now there's been a very, very strong pushback from the more regressive elements in society. Why am I telling you all this? Because this year, this coming year in 2022, I'm going to be part of a large effort to defend the rights of trans people across the globe, to defend our rights to healthcare across the globe, primarily in the United Kingdom and the United States, but also in other places in the world. We're funding a nonprofit, and this nonprofit is going to be leading the charge in defense of trans healthcare around the world. Now, once this nonprofit is started, there's going to be some immediate expenses. There's going to be some immediate startup expenses, including working quarters, including computer equipment, including software, including servers, including all of the things that are going to make us functional as a nonprofit. We're starting this entirely as a grassroots effort, and none of us are rich. So what I need right now is that initial kickstart, that initial kindling that's going to fuel us to even put ourselves on the map, to even have a website, to even have a presence. So by March 31st, by Transgender Day of Visibility, we're going to be a noticeable force, and we're going to start fundraising in earnest. This GoFundMe is just to get us there. This GoFundMe is aiming to raise $30,000 by Transgender Day of Visibility. I'm starting this fundraiser today, and we're going to run a giant sprint until March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility 2022. Between now and then, we need to raise $30,000, which is going to give us the initial capital to pay for computers, for servers, for a website, for a little bit of marketing efforts in order to get us to start being able to fundraise for the much larger funds that we're going to need to fight this fight. You can see that I'm unprepared. You can see that I'm making this video in this messy room. I'm just trying to get this out there today on Transgender Day of Remembrance to begin this big effort, and I'm hoping that you're going to get behind me. So listen, if you're watching this and you're just a broke trans woman as myself, then donate $10, donate £10. If you can, make it 20. If you can, make it 50. If you're gainfully employed, make it 100. And if you're a member of an organization or a company that might get behind trans rights, then talk to them about potentially donating more. If you're the parent of a trans kid, you will want to donate more. We need you. Everybody, it's time to get out of the car and to push this car up the hill, because we have an uphill battle ahead of us, and we all need to push together. So if you're the parents of trans kids, especially you, please put your shoulder to the push and help us get $30,000 by March 31st.